Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Making Your Transition to Pure Access Cloud 4.0 Seamless. I'm going to mute all of the participants right now, and I'll ask John to unmute his microphone. Your trainer today is John Dalrymple. John, take it away whenever you're ready, and welcome.
Thank you, Peter, and welcome to everybody who's joining us for this session. If you guys would go to the top of your Teams window and turn on chat. It's a caption bubble. It's on the top bar, and it's between the participants and the raised hand icon. Peter and I are going to be monitoring your responses in chat, and if I miss something that you've entered, he may interrupt me to address your comment. He might type into chat an answer, or he might remind me at the end, and so we'll circle back and deal with it then. All right, well, let's get started. Our goals for today are to, my name is John Dalrymple, and I'm the electronics trainer for Allegion. My principal responsibility is conducting trainings for our integration customers. The past 7 years, my trainings have focused on Allegion's portfolio of intelligent integrated locks and how they are used with access control systems in the commercial, education, healthcare, higher ed markets. I'm coming to you from my home office here in Boise. How many of you guys are also working from home? I see a lot of you guys are. How many of you guys have shoes on? Are you allowed to wear shoes at home? Or do you have to wear shoes? Yeah, I don't wear shoes either. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Let's establish the goals for our brief session together. First, we're going to help you understand and master the changes to the Pure Access Cloud interface. By the end of the webinar, you'll be able to describe how the interface helps accomplish all of the basic tasks and how the more consistent look and feel should help both new and experienced users learn and use the software with greater ease. We're also going to briefly cover some of what's coming to Pure Access Cloud later this year. And please understand, though, what the class isn't. It's not an introduction to Pure Access. It's not a refresher course on features and functions. In the short time that we have together, our goal is to help make your experience adopting the new interface as smooth as possible. So my first question for you, have you heard any details about the Pure Access update? If you have, go ahead and type it into chat. It'll help me understand where you're coming from and kind of give me a feel for the room. But if you haven't heard anything, you can go ahead and type that into chat too. Just say, I don't know, or I haven't heard anything. Also note that the update will occur on February 26th. That means that you will likely see the new interface when you log in on Monday, the 1st, and we'll have more on that later. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump in. I'm going to bring up a screen share and I'll log into Pure Access Cloud 4.0, the new interface, and then I'll perform a couple of the basic tasks. I'm going to deactivate a user, I'm going to edit a user, I'm going to add a user, and I'm going to edit an access point. While I'm doing that, I want you guys to type into chat anything that you notice that's different. So here's our new user interface. Log in. You'll notice that all of the screens are here on the left with an icon. We can also expand that with names next to them until you're familiar with what the icons mean. I'm going to collapse it now just for simplicity so that you get the maximum view of what's going on my screen. But users is this group of people. Now we'll edit an access point. All right, well, that was a quick look at some of the things that are going on. You had a glance. Let's go ahead and explore some of these. Have any of you guys noticed this chevron or arrow icon? Do you know what it does? Remember, we saw it on the users and the access point screen next to each name. When I click on it, it expands that item so I can see additional information, kind of like this. It's a common element on many websites, and users do tend to know that they can click it to show the hidden information and then click it again to hide it. It's used throughout the Pure Access Cloud now to help you to get information that you need quickly and cleanly. How about this one? Anybody notice this 3-dot icon? Do you remember what it does? Remember, we saw it on the user screen, and it was next to each of the user's name. It shows a menu with actions that you can take on that user, kind of like this. It's also a common element on many websites, and users tend to know that they can click it to show actions. This too is used throughout Pure Access Cloud now to provide a consistent access to the actions that you take on that user or that access point or whatever the element is. All right. So we're going to, in addition to the arrow and the 3-dot action menu icon, there are a couple of other elements that I want you to be familiar with. So we'll go back into Pure Access Cloud 4.0. And you'll notice here, when I go to the columns, like on my user screen, I can now sort the columns simply by clicking here, go sort up or sort down. I can do that in any column. I can do that across just about any screen, right? I can also sort these here. In addition to being able to sort, I can also filter a column just by beginning to type in the column. There's all the things that have B in them. And if I wanted to clear that filter, I would just backspace and get rid of it. That is also available to me here. And it's even available to me if I were to go to a report. If I click on a report, obviously we don't have any report run yet, so I'm going to just run the report. And now I can look for things that maybe are related to the warehouse and look at things that have happened to that. So that's new to Pure Access 4.0. Another new feature, though, is on the dashboard. You'll notice we still have multiple dashboards available to you, depending on what area you're looking at. But now, when we look at this, you can see that the widgets are resizable. If I go down here to this lower right-hand corner, I can just click and drag and resize that widget. I can also reorganize where I want my widgets to be, just simply by going to the upper left-hand corner and clicking and dragging here. And if I get a layout that I like, then I could just go over here to that speed dial and I could save the widget positions, right? And that'll lock that in. So if those are kind of the common features, you've seen that a lot of the rework had to do just with using a consistent graphical elements. The entire idea was to create a more consistent and a unified look and feel that results in greater ease of use and faster learning. So if you were going to teach someone how to use the software, how do you think that you'd do it? Go ahead and choose one of these multiple choice options and type your response in chat. So Peter would do B. He'd just show it to him. Good. Let him practice. That's a great idea. Well, there's a reason that you might have been familiar with many of the graphical elements. It's because the developers at Isonist used a particular design program to help them create this new interface. It's called Material Design. It was created by Google. The idea is that if you implement the graphics, the icons, the typography, the layout, everything according to the guidelines of the program, you'll have something that's more familiar to users, that meets them where they're at, that helps them explore and discover and remember and get jobs done more quickly and consistently. Now, you don't need to know anything about this to use Pure Access. We just thought we'd share how our developers worked to give you the best possible experience in Pure Access. All right. Now, you notice that I clicked on that green plus icon earlier. We call it a speed dial. Let's go look at it again. And I'm going to go to the user screen and click on the speed dial. I want you guys to take note of what options are available to me. I just hover over the speed dial and you can see I can create a user, I can create a user group, add a user group, add a user to a group, and I can import users. Now I'm going to go to another screen and click on the speed dial. We'll go to the access points and we'll see if those same options are available to us. And you'll notice that they're different. So what is the difference? What do you see that's different about them? Yeah, user things are in users. Door things are in access points. Even when I go to something like calendars or the schedules, I have schedule things here. Yeah, the options do change depending on what you are. That means it's contextual. So let's look at another element on this screen. We'll go back to the dashboard. And if I click on the big plus icon, you know, we kind of know that plus means I want to add something. If I were to click on this, you can see I can add a user, I can add an event, I can add a rule, I can add a holiday. Well, let's see if that changes when we go to another screen. We'll go to the user screen, click on the add, same set of options, add a user, add an event, add a rule, add a holiday. How about over here on the access point screen? Yeah, so it's the same set. Why do you guys think the purpose was behind having that big plus sign that stays the same on every screen, but the speed dial that changes depending on the screen you're on? Yeah, those things are the most common things that we do. We need to add users, we need to maybe add an event, we need to add a rule, or we need to create a holiday. So those are all common things that we have to do. And so we put those up there on the top bar and made them constant. Well, that's it. That's basically all the major interface changes summarized. The big three ways that you have to manage the content in your tenant: the actions menu, along with the arrows and the column manipulations, the speed dial, which provides fast access to the most commonly used operations for that given screen, and the big plus sign, which has the most common system-wide features available. Right, but before we move to the next topic, there's one more aspect to the changes that's worth considering. I'm going to look at a simple task from the Pure Access Cloud and compare it to Pure Access 4.0. So I want you guys to pay attention to the steps and let's look for differences between the Pure Access 4.0 and the legacy version of our software. So I already have this loaded up. We'll log in. We'll go to users. And I'm going to add a user. So we click on the plus, put in a first name, So we're going to call this one Eric. Johnson. And we might save these changes, but then we'll go down here and we'll add a credential. So the first step has been done. And in our case, we're going to add just a simple PIN, generate a random PIN. We'll save that. We're going to give our user access through groups. We'll make this user part of the second shift. And we will click on Save Changes. And you'll see that the rules came from the group membership. Now we're going to do the same thing in the new version of Pure Access. So we'll go to Users. We'll create a user. And it's going to be Eric Johnson again. Right? Now the next step would be to put that Eric in a user group. We put him in second shift, so we'll do that again. We need to issue some credentials to Eric. Then we can review the information all right here, and we can click on Create. So my question to you guys is, was there a difference between the steps taken to complete that task? No, there really doesn't seem to be, and that's a good answer, Peter. Nothing really changed about the way you add a user. It's just that the way you do it looks a little bit differently. And that's true if we were to create a user group or anything else. It's very much the same steps, but we do have a slightly different look. Now there is another change to Pure Access interface that we should explore, and it has to do with rules or schedules. And we're going to take a look at that. And we're going to start in the legacy version of Pure Access. So we'll go back to our legacy version here. And remember that rules were part of access control, and we had a schedule. Now, in this version of Pure Access, the schedule included the when and only the when. It had the days and the times that were applicable. And if we wanted to apply that schedule, we created a rule. So if we were to go look at one of our rules, remember we had who. You could either be from a group or it could be individual members. You also had a when, or the where. This is where they had access, again, individual doors or groups of doors. But when, it came from that external element called a schedule. Let's look at that in Pure Access 4.0. You'll notice now, though, that access control is here and it's been elevated to its own screen. So if I click on the access control screen, you see it starts with schedules. And we're going to go ahead, and this is the calendar view, of course. If I wanted to look at a list view, maybe it's a little bit easier for what we're going to do right now. And if I wanted to look at the day shift, let's look at what the components of day shift are. We'll just go to edit here. And you'll notice that there are 4 components to day shift. There's the details, what we named it. There's the who, either groups or individual users. The where was, again, groups and or individual access points. But the when is now embedded within this weekly rule. And you can see that I can, all my days are changeable, and everything else. So it's all in there. So what's really happened here is that schedules now include not just when, but they also include who and where. So what happened to rules? I don't see them anymore. Is it A, they no longer exist, B, they aren't supported anymore, C, they're now called schedules, or D, something else? Okay, good. How about, yeah, they're not just viewed by default. So if somebody goes in and they, hey, my schedule doesn't look right, how are they supposed to use it? What would you tell them? Do you choose A or B or C? Yeah, they are pretty much the way you use rules, but now they have everything in them in the schedule itself, right? All the components are there together. Very good. Well, that covers the interface changes. We're going to move on to our second topic in the webinar, and that's kind of planning for new things. So have any of you guys heard about new products coming to Pure Access? Yeah, right. All of those products are coming to Pure Access. But to learn about the application of these new locks and these new products, you need to be properly prepared. And to do that, we have a webinar, okay? And you can look for it and it will be scheduled in the future. There's a lot more detail about making the best use of the Wi-Fi locks that we have time for in today's webinar. But if you are interested in learning more, please be on the lookout for an email from us announcing the schedule and attend one. And of course, in the interim, you can always reach out to your sales representative. Now, Engage is the name of the family of Schlage products, 3 of which are going to be relevant to Pure Access. They are the NDE lock, the cylindrical model, the LE lock, a mortise lock, and the Schlage RC, and that stands for reader controller. It's also the name of a cloud-based maintenance tool with its own app and its own website and its own user accounts. In summary, there are more details about how to have a successful integration of Engage products to your site. So we have another webinar available for you. Please stay tuned for that schedule or contact your sales rep to learn more. That webinar will help you learn more about NDE and LE and how to successfully link your tenant to Engage. So here's the update sequence. It's going to start on the 26th of February. While the update is going on, your devices are going to continue to work just like they do now. They'll just operate in local mode. And as soon as the update is done, the devices will reconnect to Pure Access once the update is complete. So if you have any changes coming up that maybe would need to happen in that 26th to the 1st of March timeframe, you might want to get your changes done prior to that. Engage is kind of a brand name. It's also, yeah, it's a brand name, Peter. That's a great way to look at it. All right. So what does the new interface do for me? Somebody may ask you that question. Yeah, it does make it easier to learn. It's more consistent. Why did Isonos change it? It's always a good question. Why did you change something? Yeah, what Isonos was striving for was something that would just appear easier and would be familiar, you know, that they wanted people to have familiar icons, familiar typography, have them do some things that they're familiar with them doing. What about it makes it easier to learn? Yep. Do I have to learn new steps to accomplish my task? Okay, that's good. Has anything changed about the login? Do you need to do anything to make your existing hardware work in 4.0? Nope, nothing there. Will your credentials still work after the update? Yes, they will. Yes, they darn well better. Do the system administrators need to do anything? Maybe be primed a little bit for this change, and we have some tools to help you with that. Do you suppose your reports will still work? Yep, they will. And do you need to do anything on the day of the update? No, you really don't. It's just going to happen. What if I liked my old interface and I'd like to keep it? Probably not. Nope, that's true. This is cloud-based software, so the UI is the UI, the user interface. All right. Well, we've covered these topics. If there's anything that you want to know about having a successful integration of Engage products to your site, we do have another webinar that's going to be available. You can look for the schedule. You can request a webinar to be scheduled for you. You can contact your sales representative to learn more about it. That webinar is going to help you learn more about NDE and LE and how to successfully link your tenant to Engage. We do have some resources that are available for you. Peter's going to put them in the chat window. There's this companion video. This is a great video for you to look at. There's a link there. It'll take you to our YouTube channel. You can also download a document that has some kind of what to expect with this, some bullet points on what to expect with this update. And certainly if you have any other questions, reach out to us at www.isonas.com or contact your sales rep individually. Thank you guys very much for attending today.